Might seem crazy what I'm about to say. So should you hear when you take a break? Hot air balloon that go out of space.
I wish I knew the words.
And I don't care, baby, about the way. Because I'm happy, come along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy, come along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy, come along if you feel. Hi.
This feels like the perfect song for me because I try to be happy all the time. So it's great as much as possible.
I know. I thought about you. You know, I always pick the song for the player, and the player is you. So welcome to my show, Amber.
This means so much to me, Darius. This is where it all began, was with a conversation between you and me last May. And here you are celebrating 100 episodes.
Yep.
Well done. Well done.
The end shows. Thank you. The 100 shows, guys. Do you mind if I do a little bit of introduction?
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and we have such an amazing show planned for you guys today. We have the one and only Amber Vilhauer for our 100th episode. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Wow. Thanks, man. Thanks.
I can't believe it's 100 shows. So, guys, as you know, for those of you that have been following the show is the Greatness Machine, and we're all about two things: people who are living their passions to create greatness in the world. And my friend Amber is neither short of passion nor greatness. Aww. And so, couple of things, guys. It's a special day, 100 shows on July 8th. Actually, I'm going to back up for a second. So, I think it was May-ish. I got introduced to Amber, and Amber is the CEO of NGNG Enterprises, founder and CEO. And she is a friend of many of my I've made a lot of friends because of Amber, which is really cool. But she's a friend of John Rulin and Mike McAllowitz. And that's how I met her. And she did my book launch. And part of my book launch was, she's like, hey, I have this whole thing. You got to start a live stream show. And it's, it's a way to help build your influencers and, do this really cool thing. And it's part of the strategy. And little did she know, she didn't know this about me at the time, but I was like, I had wanted to start like a podcast / show since the previous January of 2019, but I didn't. And I had this whole idea in my mind. It's called the Greatness Machine. And it was like, boom, right away. Amber's like, you got to do this. And I'm like, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to do a ton of stuff.
And you did that.
So here we are. 4 months and a week later, and we've done 100 shows.
Amazing.
And you were the catalyst to get that going. So thank you so much, Amber. I'm so grateful to have met you and to call you a friend and for you to motivate me to do this. So thank you so much.
Oh, I love you big time. And I remember the conversation because you were saying how you had this idea for the podcast, but the live streaming piece, you're like, live streaming, and I'm like, you've got to do live streaming. And then it was like a week later, you said, I think I was born to do live streaming. Like, I'm kind of addicted to it. Yep. And what I love about your show is how you start it. That's one of the things that I love, how you start it. It's like you're taking your own passion and who you are to core, and you're putting that out into the world, which most people are way too scared to do. Right? We second guess ourselves. You don't do that. It's real, raw Darius, which means so much to me as an influencer that you're willing to do that. But then you go deep in conversation and really interesting turns that, when you're interviewing people, they tend to say the same things over and over again on different shows, but not on your show. So I think you're doing an awesome job.
I get people are like, I never said that in real life before. And I'm like, I've heard that a lot of times. I get people to talk about a lot of stuff. So, well, I appreciate you so much. And guys, this is our 100th show. I can't believe we knocked out 100 that quickly. And like us, I give massive credit to my friend Amber for really motivating me to do the show, and it's become a very important part of my life. So in commemoration of 100 episodes, we have a special thing today. If you type in 100 into the comment section, you will get a free download of my book, The Core Value Equation. Yep.
So good. It's always right here in my backdrop. I have sold so many books for you because I really think this is one of the best books I've ever read. Didn't just help me in business, helped me in my personal life, and it helped me personally, not just in, my marriage and my family. Really great book, Darius.
Well, I appreciate that. It's helped me a lot too, because I wasn't doing it in my personal life, and then now I do a lot more. Now that it's funny to be a person that write a book like that and then not do it in your personal life. But guys, throughout the show, drop a 100 in the comments. Don't be shy. Start a watch party. Ask us questions. Hit the like button, but drop that 100. You get a free download. It's just now. We're going to be doing it for the week that the show's airing. Obviously, do it right now. It'll come right into your chat in Facebook. So you got to go into Facebook and do it, and it'll drop right into your chat. And yeah, we're just doing it to commit. I'm doing something special for you all because I appreciate you, and I really wanted to show my gratitude for you watching the show, supporting the show. And I was like, Amber would be all about that. She's all
really cool. So super cool. Well done. Yeah.
So drop 100 in there. We'll be reminding you guys throughout the show. But yeah, start watch parties. 100, baby. Like, dude, support the show. Let's get people pumped up about this. And let's get the show underway now. So Amber is the CEO, as I mentioned, and founder of NGNG Enterprises. They specialize in a ton of really cool stuff. She does book launches. That's her big deal, is like best-selling book launches. So I met her because she had done my buddy Mike Michalowicz's book launches, and I said, hey man, can I pick your brain on how did you like your book launch? And he's like, yeah, go talk to Amber. I'm like, wow, I just want to talk to you. And he's like, no, you got to talk to her. And I didn't know. At the time, I'm like, is he big timing me? And no, he wasn't. He was just like giving me like literally one of the best hookups I probably had in the last decade. And so,
my goodness,
I get the hookup for Amber. We hit it off like gangbusters. It was really a special hit off where it's like one of those deals where you're like, I think you're my best. Are you my best friend? You're my best friend.
We talked like every day for days. This was just like a get to know you call, and it was like an hour. We went double the time. It was like, are you available later today? I have a call right now. Could you do tomorrow morning? Let's do tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it was really cool, and we made it work. And she put in an exorbitant amount of energy and time into making the Core Value Equation an amazing book launch. So first of all, I got to learn firsthand because I'm literally like a guinea pig of like experimentation and a representation of her talents. She did my book launch. She built my website at therealdarius.com. And she built my live stream. Like literally these three massive parts of my life for the year 2020 were all projects that Amber brought to life. And then she introduced me to all these amazing people that I've met that have now become my friends. Mm-hmm. And so I really have to say that like, you probably have like affected my 2020 more than anything, even COVID. You beat COVID.
Oh, I beat COVID. That's like a meme that needs to start going around us.
Yeah, I beat COVID. I've been better than. So why don't you, let's start off and let's back up a little bit. Like, obviously you're doing all these amazing things, and like it's pretty gangbusters when you watch. For me to be an entrepreneur and to watch someone entrepreneurial like Amber, who we won't need to get into the milestone much. She just celebrated this really cool entrepreneurial milestone in her business, and just to be a serial entrepreneur, to watch someone of her caliber really grow and do amazing things. It's really, really fun to watch. And I've gotten to be an advisor for her and her partner, and it's really cool to watch. So I'm really pumped for what's in store for you, because I think that you're working with some amazing influencers. You're doing some amazing things to bring their work to the world, to amplify their message. But let's rewind for a second and maybe tell everybody how you got started.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll say a couple things. Number one, who you see today, this like energetic, bright, smiley person, that's not who I was the first half of my life. And I like to mention that because sometimes we look at those that are in the spotlight and think, wow, if I just had, that fill in the blank, then things would be really good. Like, I had to work really, really hard to learn how to communicate and how to speak and how to be a positive person and look at the universe as a friendly place. that was not my experience growing up. There was a lot of pain. I was very lost. I was confused. I didn't feel like I had any worth or value growing up. And so those were things I had to learn. It just didn't happen for me naturally. The second thing that I'll share is that I feel like I got my entrepreneurial start by selling Cutco cutlery, so the high-end kitchen knives. And I don't know what it was in the water back then, but there was like a bunch of amazing people that started Cutco all around the same time. Obviously, Darius, you know many of them, Hal and John and John and John. A lot of Johns back then.
Yeah.
But it was really in that environment that I learned the value of positivity, the value of connection, the value of hard work and achievement and consistency and discipline. But how I started NGNG, which by the way stands for No Guts, No Glory, was totally random. And that's what makes it a great story. I was running this event that was teaching entrepreneurs how to market their business online. I didn't know anything about the online world back at this time, but the people that were putting it on were the people that I worked for, and this is just what they were doing. I was in charge of a lot of the speakers. I'm watching them up on stage talking about AdWords and SEO and copy and websites, and I thought, now that looks like a challenge. That's really what excited me. I went home. I taught myself code using the internet and Google. I set up my own first website and I started blogging about the things that I was learning about. Two things happened. One is that a woman who I guess observed my event planning work, she was a publishing company owner out in California. She reached out and said, I love how organized you are and how good you are with people. Can I pay you and teach you how to launch books for my authors? And I was like, sure, I could do that. So she taught me, and I was launching books for Nichols, Les Brown, Mark Victor Hansen in my early 20s. Like that felt like a gift, and I was really excited about that. But the second thing that happened is this woman that lived in Vancouver reached out, and she said, I love your website and what you're blogging about. Could you manage my website? I was like, sure. I didn't have a business plan. I hadn't gone to business school. I didn't even treat this like a business, but somebody said you should set up an LLC, so I did. I named it NGNG because no guts, no glory was a phrase my mom used to say to me all the time growing up. She was a single mom and gave us every opportunity, and it just meant a lot to me. And it wasn't until about 7 years in, Darius, not even joking you, that I was like, maybe I'm onto something here. Up to that point, I just kind of treated it more like a hobby, like it was a stepping stone to the next thing I was going to do. But 7 years in, I looked around and thought, we're profitable. I have an awesome team, a great culture, an amazing reputation. Like, maybe I should just go all into this seriously and grow the business. And that's what I did.
Wow. So wait, when did you start the business? Was it 07?
2007.
So yeah. So fast forward 2014, you're like, I got me a business here.
Very blonde thing to say, even though I'm a brunette, but that's genuinely like, I didn't think this was going to be the thing I was going to do. But now when I look at my business, it has nothing to do with building websites and book launches. Like that's the service that we offer.
Right.
The deeper work is in working with conscious thought leaders, authors like you, speakers, people that like really love people. They love humanity. They want to see the world be a better place, and they want to work hard to contribute. Oh my gosh, I will go a million miles for somebody like that. And then I have a much bigger impact on the world through people like Darius. And man, that fires me up.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's finding that deeper why, and it's a cool product, right? Like you are getting to work with some amazing thought leaders now, and you've built your reputation where, you really, and I'm not going to name names because I know some of the people you're working with, but it's pretty impressive to see, especially like having come from the entrepreneurial world where I was working in finance, mortgage finance specifically, to going into the author world. And mine was really just like haphazardly. I was like, oh, I have this book in my head. I want to get it out there and then go back to work. And then life threw me a few curveballs and I ended up not going back to work. But to do that and to see that, oh no, like first of all, most book launches, outside, like if you look at the average book that gets brought into the world, barely anyone reads it. Number one, right? That's the average book. Hardly any copies are sold. And oh, by the way, there's no barrier to entry, and there's a shitload of them that come out, and so there's a ton of noise, and you got to earn the people's attention one page at a time.
Yep.
So it's this like really hard thing to do successfully.
Super
and
hard.
Yet, you're right, and yet you've been like, oh, I'm going to go take over that world. I'm going to go do best-selling book launches, right? Which like most people don't realize. Like I was talking, who was I talking to about this? I was talking to, it was someone recently, and I said, I think it was Mark Tim, who you interviewed too.
Love Mark, yeah.
So I was talking to Mark, and I said, starting a company, people think starting a company is hard. Fuck that. Launching a book is way harder than starting a company. And he agreed. This is a guy that's a baller, right? Like Mark, if you're listening, you know you're a baller. Like this guy has super successful companies. Like if I went down my vanity metrics of what I've done in business, you'd be like, how the hell do you even do that? And I'm like, that shit was way easier than launching a book. So you chose this super hard mountain to go and tell people, hey, I'm going to help you with best-selling book launches. How did you end up figuring out that was going to be your differentiating value prop?
Honestly, I have to thank the business owner out in California. Like she pulled me into the world. And when we stopped working together, because her business, like she decided she really wanted to go all in and build this like women's empowerment community. So it's very different. But in the course of that time, we launched, I don't know, like 15 books together. And then I started having a reputation for, hitting number one and growing email lists and monetizing. What's funny about this, Darius, is I didn't promote book launches on my website for many years after that. A few people would hear about it through the grapevines and say, I think somebody said that you did the Lisa Nichols campaign or whatever. And I said, well, I don't really focus on book launches, but sure, I'll do your book launch. And I would just do it on the side. And I'm not even joking you. It wasn't until almost 2 years ago now that Mike Michalowicz came to me. And he's like, I really want you to be the one to launch Fix This Next. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I've got these other projects that I'm working on for 2019. And, I'm really focused in on that. Like, I love you, man. But I don't know. It seems like it's going to be a lot of work because it was a 14-month engagement. So wow. That was just significant. And he's like, no, seriously, like we've got to do this. So we went to dinner and I was sold. Like I saw some of his great ideas and I knew we would just be better together. So I started that campaign. And like I said, it was 14 months. And in that time, Mike freaking told everybody about me and book launches. And so then it was kind of undeniable what happened next is you saw just people coming out of the woodwork saying, I need help. Can you help me with this? And I had experience. I mean, I had launched, 35 books or whatever at that time, but it was really Mike being such an advocate that then I put it up on the website. I'm like, okay, I officially launched books. And in the past year, Darius, as you mentioned, like the clients that have come in, they're like dream star clients. It's like you arrive at this point in your career when it's like, oh my gosh, I never thought this would be possible. And really all you have to do to get there is just to keep showing up and being in service first, make it about the customer experience, really develop a personal bond with your clients. This isn't just business for me, not even close. This is personal. And it's like just being consistent and being in action. And that's it. Over the years, it never happens as fast as you want it to happen, but it really is about the journey. It's not about the destination, right? Like it's invaluable, the stuff that you learn along the way. So now the marketplace has said, this is what we want you for first and foremost as book launches, but we still do all the other things that then support that as well.
That's so cool. Guys, this is such amazing pearls of wisdom. By the way, so one of the things you just said right now reminded me of a quote. There's a guy that won an Oscar for the piano. I think his name is Adrian Brody. And he, what I'm talking about? Famous actor. And he's like, when he wins the Oscar for, I think, Best Actor, like this is like 10 or 15 years ago. And he gets on stage and he's a young guy from New York. He's like, my dad told me it takes 13 years to become an overnight success. Right. And that was the first time I ever heard that quote. And you just reminded me of it. speaking of an overnight success, if you want to read my book and become an overnight success, type in 100 into the comments. We're having a great conversation here. Start a watch party. If you type in 100 into the comments, you get a free download of my book, The Core Value Equation. This is in commemoration of the amazingness of my friend Amber Vilhauer, who got me to start this show 100 episodes ago. So start a watch party, ask us questions, hit the like button. You got an expert here on best-selling book launches. You got a hardcore entrepreneur here telling her story about how she built her company from what sounded like it was a hobby until 7 years later it became her badass business. And here we are now. Gosh, I guess you're almost 13 years later from when you launched. And you're launching some book launches for literally New York Times bestsellers. That's impressive. And so I want to kind of like dovetail off of that. Right now, you're at this point where it sounds like you kind of hit an inflection point in the last year, right? And what's up, Jimmy Ferris? He just said two of my favorite people. You're one of our favorite people, buddy. Here you are. You've hit this inflection point in 2019. You're having these rock stars show up asking you to do their book launch, and for you, I agree with you. Like my experience of working with you was that you do take it personally. You go above and beyond. You have a passion for what you do. You're very high standards, and it shows, right? And people appreciate that. I think it's hard. It's hard what you're doing is hard, number one, and you're showing value in the marketplace, which I think that's when there's a nice connectivity. But then you have a background to back it up. But I think the reason you're successful, and I just wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on this, is I actually think that you probably care more than most people are used to people who they work with caring. Why do you think that is for yourself?
It's definitely true. And I have to be careful of that because, for some people, like it is just business. And for me, if it's personal, that can expose me to pain, right? And humans are wired to protect themselves from pain, right? So for me, it's a conscious choice to show up and enter into a relationship like heart wide freaking open. And at the end of the day, no matter what, I just want to be proud of how I showed up. That's the thing I can control. And I think this honestly comes from my childhood, Darius, because, growing up, I came from a really great family. I did. My parents were divorced, but they were awesome at co-parenting. I never really thought it was unusual. We went to the best private schools in Arizona at the time. Like my parents, I knew I was loved. I was always in a safe neighborhood. Yet, I really suffered inside. And I think a big part of that is, number one, I was a big time observer, which meant that I wasn't a big talker. And my older sister cast a pretty big shadow because she was more of a talker. She was more of like the actress, the one that's meant to be in the spotlight. She was Miss Teen Arizona. She had straight A's. She had a million friends. I had no friends. And so you could see this contrast and it created this divide. And then I honestly just didn't really learn how to be social. I was more introverted. And then I would go into a school environment and I would just feel small and less than. And when you're feeling small and less than, you're not going to like go up to somebody and say, "Hi, I'm Amber. Do you want to play?" No, you like go hang out in the corner and you suffer and you cry and you think it's you. And it really like contributed to the next many years of like not doing well in school. And just, I would come home from school and I would cry and I would just feel like the world's biggest loser. And then I would compare myself to my sister, like, gosh, she's getting straight A's and I'm not, and she has these friends and I'm not. I didn't talk to anybody about it because that wasn't who I was, right? I just kind of locked it all inside. And then I started pushing away my parents. And like, it just kind of got worse and worse for me. Whatever you feel on the inside is what becomes your outside reality. And when I was 16, I had this like rock bottom moment that really woke me up out of that daze that I was in. And I realized that nobody was going to save me. Nobody was going to save me. Like I had to save me. And it was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in life was change. go from that behavior into a behavior that, I had to feel good on the inside first. So I started making different decisions. I started going in for office hours. I stopped comparing myself. I started, actually trying to repair the relationship with my parents. I graduated with honors. Like, it took years of just building that momentum and that confidence. But what happened was, like, I think I just developed this care for how I show up, how I feel on the inside, because it literally creates my outside world. So the more I show up for you, I know this is a long-winded answer, but the more I show up for Darius and I take it personally, I have pride in my work. Therefore, I'm more confident in my work. I get better results in my work. He gets better results. He wants to share my name with other people and celebrate me on his 100th episode. Are you kidding me? Because it's meaningful to him. And it all started with a decision of how I wanted to feel on the inside. So, like, that's huge wisdom that I can drop onto the viewers here today. And hopefully they can start observing, like, what decisions can I make differently to start feeling better in here, and just know that somehow, like, things reorder and it just is like magical. It starts to really impact how your outside reality just really, truly starts to get better and better the more you do that.
I'm this is me being nosy right now, and you could say that you could say I don't want to answer this question, but what was that rock bottom moment? Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, I kind of glossed over it because it's not like a feel-good story, but I have no problems talking about it. So it's also a little complicated. So imagine this. I just wanted anybody to like me, like just a friend, somebody to notice me. And this girl, Isla, noticed me, and she was like a little friendly as whatever people were in high school. And Isla was like obsessed with her boyfriend, Aaron. Like, they'd been together forever and ever. And she's like, we're going to get married and have all the things. Well, now there's this outside girl, Dana, that knew all of us. And apparently Dana, like, she came to me one day and she's like, Amber, I want to tell you a secret, but you have to take it to your grave. And I was like, sure, I'll take it to my grave. High school, you know what I mean? Like, Dana was like, well, I'm actually like sleeping with Aaron, and I have been for a year, but don't tell Isla. And she was like this snooty B word for sure. Like, Dana was not a good person.
Clearly.
Yeah. So
wait. Dana and Isla best friends?
They were really super close.
Oh, she was sleeping with her boyfriend?
No,
so evil. That's evil high school drama.
So I sat with it for like 2 weeks. And Isla kept coming to me about like, oh, Aaron, what we're going to do for Valentine's Day. And I just felt like this is not cool. This is not right. And I felt like I had this moral obligation to use my voice. Now, keep in mind, this is like really the first time that I'm choosing to use my voice, because up to this moment,
you picked a good spot.
up to this moment, I was just an observer. So I sat down one day and I was like, Isla, I have to tell you something. Dana told me that she's sleeping with your boyfriend, Aaron, and I just wanted you to know. Isla was like, no, you liar. That could never be the case.
She threw you under the bus.
Then Isla goes to Aaron and confronts him. He calls me a liar. She goes to Dana. Dana calls me, yells and screams at me over the phone. How could you do that to me? And I couldn't get a word in edgewise, but it scared the you-know-what out of me, because she was like gangster mean. Like, she just had that edge to her that just, she would have annihilated me just by looking at me. I mean, I'm like this sensitive person anyway. So whatever, the storm passed.
Wait, hold on. Did Dana lie and say she didn't say that?
Totally.
Oh, so you became like this total bad person. So the high school freaking everyone lied, covered their ass.
Everyone lied.
One honest person got totally fucked.
Yes.
That's like the way of the world, people.
It gets better. It gets better. So then fast forward like a week, and it's Friday night or whatever, and I went to a party, right? And there was like, I don't know, 60, 80 kids there at some dude's house named Josh. And I showed up at the party, typical, like, I walk around, I'm not friends with anybody. I feel like a loser. Just being there makes me feel worse about myself. So I call my ride, because I don't even have a car yet at this point. Hey, can you come get me? And he's like, I'll get you in 45 minutes. Fine. So I'm like just trying to pass the time. And then all of a sudden the front door bursts open, and these 5 angry chicks start stomping through the house screaming, "Where's Amber? Where's Amber?" And you know that feeling when like you think you're going to pee yourself because it's like everything sinks in your body? That was that moment for me. And I was just like, I kind of did one of these, like, what is happening right now? And these girls, like, somebody was like, that's her. And I'm like,
Oh no.
So the girl.
Was it Dana or Isla that called the gangster girls?
Spoiler alert. Yeah. So.
Dude, I know my teen drama. This is like Can't Hardly Wait in real life. By the way, that's a great movie if you've not seen Can't Hardly Wait.
Totally. Yeah, I've seen it. So these 5 girls take me and they literally drag me. I remember there was like one of them.
You're like 100 pounds soaking wet. It must not have been that hard.
No, like,
they like ruin you.
And I remember there was like this rug on the floor, and I was like sliding with the rug all the way out to the patio. They opened it, they pushed me outside in the patio. It was kind of dark, and all the kids were out there kind of surrounding me, and they're pushing me around like,
gosh,
you did this, no, you did that. Somebody had told them each of the 5 girls different lies about me, like, you stole my what, I don't even remember. Just they were all like talking about stuff that didn't make sense to me. And then one of them like shoved me on the ground, and I got back up, and like nobody was stopping it, Darius. And then there was this moment where, like, I swear you can't even like write this stuff, make this stuff up. There was this like opening in the crowd all of a sudden, and there's Dana. And she's like, "This is what you get, bitch."
Oh.
And then I was like, oh.
Fuck you, Dana. Hey, Dana, if you're listening, fuck you. Just thought I'd want you to know that, Dana. Fuck you.
Okay, this story I know we're being in jest, and that's okay. I've done a lot of work to move through this experience, so it's okay. Because I'm sure there are people out there like, this is not okay that they're making fun of this moment, but it's okay.
No. You can make fun of it if it's your moment.
Wait to the ending. So anyway, long story longer, the 5 girls, in clothes, they put me on the ground. They literally kicked me, stomped on me, pulled my hair. Like,
what?
I got jumped. I was not in good shape.
Oh, that sucks.
Nobody would save me. And I had this moment of like, in the movies where it's like time just slows.
Yeah.
And you hear, people talking like that. And in that moment, it was like that decision of like, wow, like what's up with, and nobody is stopping. Like, this is really sad for humanity right now. Like I really did have this, it was like a conscious moment of like, this is not okay. Anyway, I got up, I ran away, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of other dramatic things happened that night. It's a very juicy story that I ended up writing. I wrote a book about it.
Oh my gosh.
As this girl named Simone, so not as me. I reveal at the end of the book that it was my journey, but it's called Rescuing Me, A Teen's Journey from Lost to Found.
Wait. So is this a book people can buy?
Nope.
Oh, you got to put it out there. Come on. This is like,
I've had it professionally edited twice. It's ready, but I just never felt like, here's this random book and I sell websites for a living. Like, it just didn't, I wasn't ready to build a platform around it.
Oh, you totally have to look out there.
I'm going to. I have another book that I'm finishing now, Elevate Every Experience. That one's going to come out in 2021. And then I'm going to release the story that it'll make sense at that point. But so it was really that moment though. Wow. Later that night, after I had gotten beaten up, there's 2 last things I'll share. Later that night, I didn't want to go home for obvious reasons. I mean, my mom was going to ground me for sure. Like, who knew? I just didn't want to have those conversations yet. And so I found myself like having this quiet moment later in the night where I just looked up at the stars, and I just was these soft tears coming down. And I just thought, God, is this my life? Is this the way it's going to be? And that question just shook me. And I just thought, oh my gosh, if I don't make a change now, like, this road doesn't last for very long. And so decision by decision, day by day, I turned my life around. And here's the other thing I want to share. Fast forward so many years later, it must have been, I don't even know now, like 8 years ago. Who reaches out to me on Facebook out of nowhere? Dana. And she's like,
That's all I got to say. Hey, Dana, if you're listening, because you guys are you guys Facebook friends now? You didn't accept her fucking friend request, did you? You did, didn't
she
you?
didn't send me a friend request. She sent me a message. And it was like this whole message of like, hey, Amber, I felt compelled to reach out to you. Like, I'm doing some work on myself.
Okay, that's good.
And she said, in looking back, I know something happened between us, but I don't know what. I was so coked out and drugged up back then. I don't remember many years of my life, but I know I did something to you that was awful. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry.
All right, that's good.
So,
All right.
woke up at 16. Like, dude, wake up, parents. This is real. This was freaking forever ago. I mean,
you gotta save that shit till your 20s. Come on, everyone knows that.
I didn't feel like there's an opportunity. I mean, there's a big part of me that believes that at some point in the future journey, there's going to be a significant contribution that I give to teens and parents around decision making and conscious choice and how we treat each other, especially girls. Girls are freaking mean to each other in school. Like,
guys just beat the shit out of each other and bully each other. Girls are psychologically fuck with each other, and obviously physical too. But wow, how many times have you told that story on live stream?
A couple. I mean,
I thought I got a new one.
No, I shared it more and more. I remember there was a podcast that kind of was digging into it, and it's not that I'm trying to hide anything. I'm an open book. There's no value in not sharing these stories. There's none, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, but I also know, like, I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, I feel bad for her. Don't feel bad for me. I'm a powerhouse. Like, and I also don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to like go out and make an impact from that story. Because look at going from that moment to this life, like that's what's possible if you have the right mentors and the right attitude and just really focus on the inside. So that's the message I want you to take and share that with others, because the world needs those kinds of stories right now. Please share this.
Well, it's funny, and this is one of the reasons why I love you, Amber, is, when we first started connecting on my book launch, Amber has a huge like resonance towards core values. So what's funny is that whole story, when you were telling it, it's an insane teen story, which I mean, I have some like that too. I think a lot of people that have done amazing things in their life, or that are on the track to do some interesting things, a lot of that's born out of like, difficulty, right? Like you had this difficult story, this thing that you grinded through, you had to go deep to figure yourself out. And then that puts you on this journey where you're looking for people, and that tends to resonate where people are attracted to what you're looking for, right? Like, like if you're looking for something, you will tend to gravitate towards those that will provide. The world will provide if you're looking, right? And so, like, I think even us, like, why we're on this call right now or on this live stream right now is because I was looking for help to get my message out, and you just happen to be doing this amazing thing, and Mike Michalowicz happened to love the work you did for him, and here we are. But that all stems from wanting you wanted to express who you are. And where I'm gonna land on this is, what got me excited to work with you was you and I landed square, like no ifs, and or buts, square on like the bullseye for core values. And like everything you just said right now was a core value conversation as far as I'm concerned, and that you saw this injustice, this lack of integrity. You stepped up. You had the courage to like open your mouth in a really fucked up situation, right? Where most of the people would have been like, because you cared about someone. And then some other girl, who knows why, Dana, I know I said F you, Dana, and I kind of still mean it, but, for some 16-year-old to be doing blow and like beating people up and bullying people, God knows what was going on in her personal life. Right?
Oh, God.
She probably had some fucked up shit happening at home, right? So she was just an outward reflection of inwardly what was happening, and it was ugly. And then she had to go do that work. But you were just, kind of at the crossroads of a lot of different negative things. And it sounds to me like you relied on your values to elevate yourself. I mean, that's at least what I've seen in being friends with you, is that you really do lean in on the value work. And that's a big part of like who you are as a person. And because of that, here you are now, you know, a couple decades later almost. And like things are you're probably living your best life from what I can tell.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
You know?
I have so much love in my life. I never thought anything like this was possible. Seriously. I mean, I thought it could only go up from here. I mean, I felt that, but it's like this kind of love, I have it everywhere, Darius. It's not just like here and there. It was a conscious choice to be open to more love, right? Because again, most people are closed because they want to avoid pain. But if you're closed, you can't receive that kind of love and you're not going to attract it in. So I literally had to do the ultimate risk of self, to stay open and try, right? And I really respect that in other people, because it's not the easy path, right?
No.
And now I just keep leaning in. That's one of my biggest core values, as you know, is lean in. Period. Lean in to everything. Lean into love. Lean into change, right? COVID this year, so many people are like, oh, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'm just going to wait and be small and see what happens. I looked at it and I thought, okay, here we go. Lean in. What can I do? Where's the opportunity? Who can I serve? How can I make more love in the world? And that's a choice, you know? Absolutely.
Well, right. And like, let's use that as an example. Like, I got to assume the book business has not been a great year to be in the book business. Like if you were to look at it on paper, right? You can't go do physical book launches. You can't go do book tours. You like
book sales are down. Yeah.
Say that again.
Book sales are down.
Yeah. Book sales are down. Less people are spending money. Like on paper, this should have been your worst year, right? But it sounds to me like it's your
best year ever.
It's going to be your best year ever, right? And so that has everything to do with having that attitude around being open to what life serves your way and maneuvering, I guess, leaning into it, to your point. And more importantly, it's having that heart forwardness that, you know, obviously I'm cheating a bit because I know your values and we've done work around your core values that hopefully we'll get to finish at some point. That was a dig, by the way. I'm giving her shit right now. But no, like you've embraced these things that really matter so you could live a whole life, because you're living in your path right now, being true to your values, being true to your purpose, embracing those around you, and it's paying back in spades. And you and I have talked about this, where I say it's the give, take, and you're like all about the give, take. You give a lot of yourself, and that gives you an opportunity to get that comeback, right? Because people feel that, and so I have a question for you. You know, if you were to go back in 2007, you had just like got your LLC for NGNG, you got a couple clients under your belt. Like, what advice would you give to Amber back then to maybe make the experience a better experience for those first 7 years?
Number one that comes to mind is, honestly, I just wish I had treated it like a business sooner. You know, like if I had some direction about how to grow a business. I mean, I didn't know anything, Darius. I think I had some like entrepreneurial blood in me from my parents, but again, like I didn't go to business school. I didn't have a business plan, didn't know anything about it. And so I think that maybe I could have made a bigger difference sooner, but it's not like a regret I have. It was just the path that I decided to take. You know, I really feel like I did a lot of things right, though, even without that. Just really listening to customers, listening to the marketplace, you know, really observing what everybody else was doing and finding the gaps in that to then make my experience more unique. Like, I feel like I did a lot of things right. But I think also, and I'm not just saying this because it's you and this is like your live show, but honestly, I wish I had known somebody like you sooner. I wish I had done core values work for the business sooner, because I knew my values, right? But it took a while for me to understand just how much your values affect your culture. And I think that I my unique ability is in relationships, right? So I do have an ability to make people feel connected. But I will say that I tried to scale about 4 years ago, and I hit this breaking point, and I had to dismantle pretty much everything I had built and scale back down. And I think the biggest reason that I had to do that is because I hadn't really leaned in far enough into core values as a company. And so there would be like little cultural breaks that would happen, like decision-making, communication breakdowns. And through the work that you and I have done this summer, I understand now how to like develop the thought leadership in my team so that they're communicating and making decisions differently, that then really does free you up in the most bizarro land, effortless way. It's like you can't even believe it sometimes.
Yeah.
I really do wish that I had just had more of that knowledge sooner.
Yeah, no, well, I think it's one of those things going back to before, is like you kind of learn it when you're ready for it, right? And it's
true.
It's hindsight's always 20/20.
And constraints. I'll say that one other thing, because that was a huge thing that I got from Darius this summer. And people have tried to give me this similar sort of advice over the years, but you know how sometimes, I guess, when you're ready to hear it, like somebody says it in this exact poignant way that you're like, oh my gosh. That was the summer in June when Darius and I were having a conversation. It was like our first core value session. And Darius is in the call, and he's, such a good coach. Like, oh my God, I don't even feel like that's a good enough term for you, but you're just like this Jedi that like hacks into your mind and gets right to the point. And he's like, Amber, what are your goals for NGNG? And I'm like, I don't know, this many million? Is that a good answer? I mean, I know the viewers, like you've all been there. And he's like, Amber, what could you build if there were no constraints, if you stopped putting constraints on yourself? And it was that moment of like, I could see all of the constraints that I had been putting on myself, all the bullshit belief systems that I had built up over the years, total garbage, by the way. And it was like, it just kind of went away. And then all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, I can build anything. Yeah. And how you see the growth we've had ever since that moment is remarkable. It's remarkable.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny to see the constraints people put on themselves. I don't know what the hell, for me, it was, I'll be honest with you. Like no one taught me that. I just was like, oh, if another human being can do it, I can do it. And it was just like this like thing where it's like, well, that's just logic, especially in business. If it's like, hey, I have a friend, a guy that was on the show that swam the English Channel. I'm sure like many people would not be able to swim the English Channel. Right? Or we had friends on the show that I introduced you to that rode their bikes from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego. I'm sure I could do that. I wouldn't. Like I don't know if I wouldn't want to do it. I don't think that I would like want to go play pro basketball. I get crushed, right? Yeah. So I don't think like physically, I don't think that's true. But I do think when you remove like physical constraints, there's some things there's like physicality that like I couldn't do like gymnastics like a Olympic style tumbler, right?
Yeah, right.
But like business wise, I'm like, dude, you're creating your own, you're creating your own constraints.
Yeah.
Like, there's so less number of rules in being successful in business. Like people that could barely read crush it in business because they're like, I'll outwork you. It's one of the few areas that you can just outwork people. And it's like you can be bad at it and get good just through practice and through diligence. And so that's why when I hear people, like, especially when I see people's businesses and they're like, like running relatively small businesses and they're starting to build all these constraints. And I'm like, you realize that, I was running a $2 million business and I was like, can't wait till I get to 100. I swear to God, it was 2 million the day I had that thought. And I was like, oh, it's going to happen. And it did. I was just like, there's no constraints. Why? Because I'm like, dude, there's people that run $1 billion businesses. What's 100 million when there's $1 billion? And think of like there's businesses that are worth $1 trillion.
Oh.
When you start thinking of the scale of $1 trillion market cap business, and you're like, I'm trying to get to 100 million, that seems like nothing, right?
I know.
So that was when I started thinking. I'm like, look, I think most people are like, they're ants, and they're like, man, I don't know if I could carry that crumb. You know, and I'm like, dude, you're not an ant, dude. And because they think they're ants. And I'm like, you're not an ant. You're an adult. You're a human. And that's a crumb. You just keep thinking you're an ant when you're really a human. So quit acting like you're, and guess what? Ants carry fucking crumbs all the time. You know, so
I love you so much. I can't even believe how much I love you.
The feeling is quite mutual. So, gosh, guys, we're about to end. We're gonna end the show because I want to talk to Amber offline because we don't get to see each other as often now. But guys, 100 shows. I can't believe it. Drop a 100 in the comments. You still get to download the free book, and we're gonna keep that up for a few days. So if you watch the recording, drop a 100 in the comment section, and I'll make sure you get a book downloaded. I appreciate you so much, and I'm so glad to have you here to celebrate the 100 show. This wouldn't have happened without you, and my life has changed because of our relationship. So thank you so much for everything you did for me with my book launch, and all these things that I'm working on now are really directly associated with us getting to work together. So I really appreciate that so much.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm gonna see you in Boston next month. We'll celebrate.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We're gonna get to hang out. So yeah, let's do this. So what's going on? Where do you want to obviously people can connect with you on lots of stuff, but let's kind of give the rundown on what are the things that you can help people with that you're working on. Where can they connect with you? And yeah, all that good stuff.
Book launches, website, online marketing. I guess I want you to look at it like I can help you develop your online platform, right? You don't have to be an author. And so you develop that online platform or refresh it. If your platform is stale and not producing, let's breathe some life into it. And then we have another area of the business that's really all about monetization and growth. So easy place to go to learn more about me is ambervilhauer.com. Since that's really hard to say, spell, and remember, you could try amberv.com or just Google NGNG. You'll find us. We're all over the place. So yeah.
Is it 2 L's or 1?
Vilhauer. That's what you mean? My last name?
Yeah, that doesn't look like how to spell your last name. Is that right?
Vilhauer.
Oh yeah. Sorry. The A. Oh, sorry.
On the screen. There you go.
There you are. Okay. Yeah. It was spelled wrong. So let's make sure we get that up right. And guys, go to NGNG Enterprises2.com. That's a good place. And if you want to see a good example of some of the amazing work that they do at NGNG, you can go to you go to therealdarius.com. That's therealdarius.com. And my website was built by the team up there. Yeah, it's pretty badass. And this show was built by you guys too. So this show was built by NGNG. My book launch was built by NGNG. My website's built by NGNG. I'm trying to think. No, I made my kids myself with my wife, but you didn't build those. You guys didn't build them.
I'm bummed about them because I show them to freaking everybody. Look at this, these big pink unicorn boxes.
Oh, yeah.
When you open them up, you get the cool. I almost wore my bandana today.
Yeah, we did. Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, look at that. And then the book. And look at how amazing this is.
I love it, man. We did such good work together, and the cool thing. Here's the cool thing to know about Amber and book launches too, is that everyone's like, so how the book launch go now? And I said, here's the cool thing about a book launch that I didn't realize until I did it, is that it's like opening your shop for the first day. Like it's like starting a business. Like the day you launch your book, it's like the business starts. It's not like it's over. So
no. Gosh, you're right. You keep going.
It just starts. That's the first day, and then it's the beginning of this thing. And depending on like how evergreen your book is, mine's super evergreen. So I'm like, I get to talk about this for like the next 30 years. So it's a 30-year business that just started. So that's why it's really important, I think, to have a pro with the book launch. I see a lot of people not put that effort in. Even what you were just saying right now about Mike Michalowicz, I'm like, had I to do it over again, I would have started my book launch a year in advance. Honestly.
I want to relaunch your book. So I think every author should relaunch their book at least once a year. There are some books that you could even relaunch once a quarter to just revive and do different bonuses and campaigns and things to make it really interesting. Mm-hmm. On top of your continued promotion, through live streaming and other things. So we're going to do an epic launch of your book next year. I've already decided. I haven't talked to you about it yet.
I can't wait. Guys, so look, I pushed off Marsha Rawls because tomorrow I had a conflict. So we got Marsha Rawls next week. We got a ton of. We got Justin Donald coming up. We got all, which is another Amber introduction. So many cool people coming on the show. We're booked all the way through January, and we got way more interesting people coming on as well. Amber, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for celebrating 100 shows with me. So cool. Guys, subscribe to the website. Go to my website, sign up for the email list, subscribe at the YouTube channel, and sign up at The Real Darius M on Facebook. We got so many cool things coming up. And drop a 100 if you want a free download of the book. That's limited time, and that saves you $10 from Kindle. So free gift from moi to you. With that said, guys, love you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys next week, and everyone have a good one. Peace. We're out of here.